We are following breaking news out of the Middle East. The U.S. launched strikes against Iran tonight after the president vowed to retaliate with force after the downing of a U.S. helicopter earlier this week. CBS News Pentagon reporter Eleanor Watson has the details.
Well, U.S. officials tell us that at this point, the strikes are hitting targets like ammunition depots, command and control nodes, and warehouses in tonight's strikes. Remember, this is the second night in a row U.S. Central Command has launched strikes in retaliation for that downing of the helicopter on Monday near the Strait of Hormuz. That is what started this chain of events, but what is clear from President Trump's language today and the defense secretary is that part of the response tonight and last night is because Iran is taking too long to negotiate. Secretary Hegseth said tonight's strikes would be, quote, strong and clear, and that the strikes tomorrow night, if they need to take more, would also be strong and clear. Over the course of the ceasefire, there have been previous violations, but the administration has kind of downplayed them to give some time to allow for negotiations to get to some sort of deal to end the war. This time, though, President Trump has said that Iran is taking too long to negotiate, and they will, quote, pay the price.
Eleanor Watson, thank you. Let's bring in retired U.S. Army Major Mike Lyons. Thanks for joining us. What do you make of these strikes? And specifically, let's talk about the timing and the targets.
Well, first, they're all military strikes. They're military targets. No civilian infrastructure has been attacked here in response to the Iranians taking down the Apache in violation of that the ceasefire that consists there. But I think it's kind of about time. I think the president's had enough, and I think in the past these kinds of strikes have moved them closer to the negotiation table. I look at this as somewhat kind of like a repairable deterrence that he's implementing now. He's being able to, fire at military targets, putting the pressure on, not the same way with Epic Fury, not in that same kind of manner, but more like a dim switch that he's able to kind of turn up the heat. So I think he's going to continue to do this on a nightly basis until he can get the Iranians back to the negotiation table. But very clearly, all military targets against the drones that attack the Americans, as well as the naval coastal batteries.
Yeah, at what point will we know that the pressure is working? When they go back to the negotiating table? Is that the key sign?
I think so, and I think that the challenge that the Iranians have is this disconnect between the negotiators and the IRGC, who clearly are still running things militarily. They have this capability that they're using. I think you're going to see the administration go after their ways of generating revenue. They might start hitting some of the petrol facilities. They're not necessarily civilian targets because it's how the IRGC is generating revenue, but they won't still look to destroy them completely. Just take out certain components of them. And again, make sure that the Iranians have something left to negotiate with. The United States can destroy this country if it wants to, but it wants to leave something there. Let them cross what's called that golden bridge from this negotiation. The president has been tired of them standing on the other side of it. He's trying to use this military action to move it across.
We keep hearing time frames that we're getting close. Does this help the deal? What do you think? Because the president insists we are close.
In the past, these kinds of military strikes have forced the negotiations on. Now, he'll listen to the Pakistanis, the Qataris, others in the region to see. He's not going to take a bad deal. I think that would be, political suicide for him to do that. And so I think that, he says this deal is close. I believe the last two components are the enriched uranium that they have, as well as what would be the breakout if they're going to ever have a nuclear weapon again, which the president says they won't have. The United States has got to get that enriched uranium. That's a very big logistical military mission. It's going to require the Iranians' help in order to do it safely, frankly.
All right, Mike Lyons. Mike, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.